Hey everybody, this is Danny Cooper from PriusChat.com. Today I am in the all-new 2016 4th generation Prius. You want to take a ride with me? Let's go. When you first sit down in the all-new 2016 Prius, one of the first things that you're going to notice is that the flying buttress bridge is all gone. That cockpit feel that I actually kind of enjoyed in the 3rd gen Prius has been replaced by one that's a little bit roomier. You feel more like you're in the Toyota Prius V, which has always felt very roomy to me. It also feels a little bit more refined and ergonomic. The joystick has been placed midway down the front center stack here, along with the drive mode buttons, the park button, and your EV mode button. The materials on the interior of the Prius have been upgraded as well. Gone is the hard plastic that was up on the dash. It's now a nice soft touch material. In fact, it's hard to find any hard plastic materials around here. They're either fabric or soft touch materials. The all-new Prius is built on the TNGA platform. That's Toyota's next generation architecture platform. And that means that they were able to rebuild this car from the ground up. What does that mean? One of the most important things that it means is that they were able to fill in the gaps on some of the soundproofing issues that they had in the 3rd gen Prius. So based on my sound meter here in the car, this car is as quiet as the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. It's a pretty good feat for a Prius, a basically mid-size hatchback. And what they did is the floor bed of the car, they were able to almost completely fill it with soundproofing, versus the 3rd gen Prius, which the floor bed had some soundproofing, but there are a lot of holes here and there, which made a lot of road noise and wind noise come up into the car. They also focused on soundproofing the front portion of the car, as well as where the speakers are, to improve sound, the sound system, and helping with the deadening the sound in the front helps to reduce feedback from the engine and the transmission noise. So this car is very quiet, surprisingly so for the Prius. There's a lot of little touches that I like in this car. For example, on the vents, the little control knobs for the vents say Prius on them. Just a little thing that's a really nice touch, especially if you've been a fan of the Prius for over 10 years, like myself and many other Prius Chat members. They've also outlined the vents on the outside of the car with a really pretty blue color. And then on the interior, on the center, it's outlined in the glossy black, the same as the rest of the center stack. Just as with the 3rd generation Prius, this Prius has all 4 windows are auto down and auto up, which is a great feature and actually should be standard across pretty much any car these days. It's kind of ridiculous that they're not. One of the little things that I actually noticed and took note of was the sun visor here. It's like, I don't know, it's a different material, it's heftier. It's just like a little touch that I really like compared to the 3rd gen Prius. The audio system in the Prius is all new. I was a little disappointed when I found out they weren't doing Android Auto or Apple CarPlay in this car. But as soon as I started using the head unit, I can kind of forgive it a little bit, because Intune, while still limited by the number of apps it provides, this system in general is very fast. It's much quicker than its predecessor. My 2013 Prius plug-in is nothing like this head unit. When I push buttons, I get immediate feedback. There's immediate screen changes. This is one of the upgraded units, so the screen is beautiful, high resolution. It's a real step up for the Prius, and it's something that I'm very happy to see. Audio, in my experience, has been very easy to use, whether that's getting around tracks inside of a USB drive that I have, or Bluetooth. Obviously, Bluetooth is still one of those technologies that you're sacrificing audio fidelity for convenience. And so if you have a little USB stick and you can fill that up with music, that's a great way to get very high quality music in this car and have an easy way to sort through it by album, by singer, by song, etc. Even on the non-JBL systems, the audio system sounds very good. And the JBL rep I was talking to said that a lot of that is thanks to the amount of sound deadening material that they were able to put in place around where the speakers go. So basically, instead of the speaker wheezing while it's trying to blow out the sound, it has a nice closed-in shell that it can pop the music out of. And it really makes for a nice experience. The JBL is obviously the highest end audio system, and it's a good sounding system. But I think even the bass units these days sound amazingly good compared to what we've had in the past. Now this audio unit has things like HD radio, XM, navigation. The base Prius, the Prius 2, doesn't come with that. It leaves out HD, it leaves out XM, it leaves out navigation. So that's a little bit disappointing. Those things seem like they should just be kind of basic throw-in features these days on a car. But I'm sure it's to drive people to go from the Model 2 to the Model 3 Prius. Now, one thing Toyota really focused on in this car, and I mean really focused on, was the driving dynamics. The second gen and third gen Prius, they weren't exactly cars you would take to the track on the weekend. This car, with its new architecture that's built on, they were able to put a new rear suspension on the car, and the difference is amazing. Toyota had set up a dynamic driving track, basically an autocross track for us to use. And we were able to compare between the 2016 Prius and the third generation Prius. And the differences were just astounding. Whereas in the third generation Prius, you kind of have that floppy tail end, kind of like a fish out of water when you're going through curves. The fourth gen Prius held perfectly. And while it's not sports car material, it definitely, I think, holds up to what their goal was, which was to compete with something like a Volkswagen Golf. So it's a much more fun car to drive. And the engine in it is no slouch either. There's much more torque on the lower end, which means 0 to 30, you can keep up with a lot more cars out there than you used to be able to. The 0 to 60 times are about the same as the third gen Prius. But really, you're not getting in a Prius to worry about 0 to 60 times. You're getting in a Prius to get the MPG and to get the form factor that the Prius provides. But driving dynamics are important, and Toyota has thankfully focused quite a bit of attention on improving that for us in the fourth gen Prius. On these canyon roads that are pretty twisty and windy, I'm literally holding the steering wheel with one hand, having no issue going through these curves. And the engine itself is having no issue keeping up with the ups and downs of this road. Where we used to have kind of an engine whine and you'd have to floor it to get it to perform up to reasonable expectations going up a hill. I haven't had that experience in this 4th gen Prius. Now, I'm sure there are hills where it's still going to do that same whine, but I haven't experienced it yet. I don't think we're going to see that to the same extent that we saw it in the 2nd and 3rd generation Prius. This car can hold its own. One place that Toyota has really done, I think, an amazing job in the 4 generations of HSD has been in the refinement of the driver experience with the hybrid system. So the 2nd generation Prius was the first one that I drove quite a bit, and you could tell when things would switch out from hybrid to when the ICE would kick in to go into a blended hybrid mode. Now that made it easy to hypermile the car, but it wasn't always the best experience for the driver because you felt the brakes switch over from regenerative braking to friction brakes. You felt the car go from EV mode into gas mode. The 3rd gen Prius evolved and made significant strides to improve that experience. But the 4th generation Prius is an even better experience. And it's actually quite surprising how much this feels like an average car, a normal car, you might say. The switch over between friction brakes regenerative brakes and friction brakes is almost non-existent. The switch over from EV into gas, you don't really feel at all. Unless you're looking at the indicator on your dash, you're not going to know that you're in EV mode, which is an extremely impressive achievement for Toyota, that in 12 years they've been able to improve the system to such a vast level. So Toyota has taken everything that you love about the Prius and they've really amplified it. They've taken the things that we kind of complained about and made lists of for years in 3rd generation Prius and worked to improve those issues. The first thing you'll notice is that you've got 2 beautiful screens with all kinds of information available on them now. They're TFT screens. They're not. They're multicolored, and they're very good looking. The colors identify different aspects of the car, what you would need to pay attention to. And the best thing is that they're very customizable. So there's an entire customization menu that's available on the Prius that we've never had before on how you want your screen specifically set up. So me personally, I've got the miles per hour. I've got my power meter, so it tells me where I am with either in charge or in eco mode or in power. And then I've got my hybrid indicator, which has kind of been ubiquitous across the 3rd generation Prius. And it also shows me my state of charge on the battery. The large screen, which I believe the base screen is 6.1 inches. There's a 7-inch model, which is what I'm in right now. I believe you can also see all kinds of data on this screen as well. And some of these screens, depending on the level and which model you're in, they're also customizable. So a lot of customization available in the new 2016 Prius, which is something that we kind of complained about for years, which is like, there's all this data that's available, but we can't have access to it. Now, one thing that people might be a little disappointed in is that there's no access to RPM data unless you have a scan gauge. So that's something that's still missing, but I'd say a majority of Prius owners aren't looking for that data. The white tray in the center, something that a lot of people have had consternation over online, is actually pretty good looking in person. It's not nearly as distracting as we thought it would be. If the center console would be white like the Chevy Volt, that would probably present a problem. But the center console is this black, beautiful color, and as many of you have pointed out online, it looks just like Darth Vader. And once you say it looks like Darth Vader, you'll see it every time you look at it. Now, the only real complaints I have about this Prius so far have to do with how Toyota's packaging the content in it. It's a little bit confusing at this point to me, and frankly, I haven't had a lot of time to research the documents that they provided us this morning. But it's a little bit confusing to me how things are packaged, and that's always been a problem with the Prius. So it's hard to tell what packages you could get with what model of Prius. So right now I'm in a Prius 3 Touring. Now the Prius 3 Touring doesn't have some of the stuff that the Prius 4 has, like the HomeLink mirror, but it does have some of the amazing safety features that the new Prius offers. Dynamic radar cruise control that can go all the way down to 0 miles an hour and keep up with traffic. Just think about that. That's amazing. That's something that only the Prius can do because of its electronic transmission system. It can go all the way down to 0, so you can use cruise control in stop and go traffic. That's like almost next level autonomous driving. Some of the other features in the safety package are a system that tells you when you're about to hit a car in front of you and will automatically brake for you. It even has a pedestrian system built into it. And the Prius is one of the only cars that Toyota has that has the pedestrian safety aspect to it. So if somebody walks out in front of your car and you don't see them in time, if you're going like less than 15 miles an hour or so, I think the actual spec is more like 20 or 25, but if you're going at a reasonable speed on a city street and the system detects a pedestrian walking out in front of you, it will do a hard brake and keep you from harming that pedestrian. Very impressive stuff. So this Prius 3 Touring can get those features, which to me are in the realm of advanced tech. However, you can't get the advanced tech package on this level of car. Any touring model, actually. So you have to go down to the standard Prius 3 or 4, I believe, to get the advanced tech package. So that part of it's been a little bit frustrating. That might just be an education thing, and it might be something that Toyota needs to clarify long term. They might need to clarify the way they do their packaging. And a lot of it, unfortunately, has to do with weight issues. So they switch out, this one has 17-inch tires. They switch out the 17s for 15-inch tires so that they can put in a sunroof into the advanced tech package. It's some of the features like that that they have to keep weight in mind significantly with the Prius, more so than they would have to with any other vehicle, because of the need to be consistent with that EPA MPG number. So this Prius has been very interesting to drive on the interstate. It can keep up very well with traffic on the I-5 while keeping an amazing MPG. I just went up a canyon road. I did interstate going 70 miles an hour. I did the canyon at 50, 55 miles an hour. And right now I'm averaging 58.5 miles to the gallon. Now, in time, we'll find out if Toyota's system reflects real-world MPG. In the third-gen Prius, they still have a bit of an issue with the way that the number is calculated on the screen compared to real-world numbers. But we will see those numbers in by doing hand calculations, coming soon. So now I'm on the I-5, which is not exactly the nicest stretch of concrete in the world. But the new independent suspension really helps keep the car stable and secure without any of the, like bouncing and tossing that we've had in the past in the Prius. There are a couple little like creature comfort things that they added into the 16 Prius, and one of them that I really like is the one-touch turn signal. This has been in other Toyota products for a few years, and it's been in other cars for many years. But it's basically you push down on the turn signal stalk once, and it then turns the turn signal on 3 or 4 flashes for you. It's a really nice little feature that's been added to the car that really kind of brings it up a notch, in my mind at least. So one of the things that they worked on was improving the sight lines on the Prius. Anyone who's owned one in 3rd or 2nd generation knows that this A-pillar area has been an issue with sight line as a blind spot over the years. So what they've done is they've gone in and they've changed this where the triangle window and the main window meet. Instead of having that kind of big bracy pillar here between the windows, they've made this very thin little piece, and the sight across the front of the car is incredible. It's a big plus, big thumbs up from me on that. Now the rear, we still have the split window, the split hatch window, and that's going to be a concern for some people. I personally have never had a big issue with it in my time driving Priuses over the last 10 years. It's one of those things that I feel like you get used to pretty quickly. Might be an issue for some people. However, Toyota has tried to improve that visibility by making that rear bar between the split of the windows that much smaller. So it kind of blends out of sight just a little bit more than it has in previous generations, making it easier to view out the back of the car. You also, the visions out the side are very good as well. You've got plenty of side view. There's no real blind spots that I can identify other than what we already know exists in the Prius with that rear window. The seats have been greatly improved in the new Prius. The seats are, lack of a better term, sportier. They're made to be driven as a sportier car. So you got side bolsters that hug the body a lot better than any Prius seat has in the past. Prius seats have honestly been quite pedestrian over the years. They've been very forgetful, and they've been the source of many complaints from Prius owners. These are much better. I've been driving for about an hour and a half, and have no complaints whatsoever with the seat so far. This car has just a manual seat. There are power seats available on the Prius. No memory seats though still, which is a little bit disappointing. But I do think that you'll have an appreciation if you're a previous owner of a 2nd or 3rd gen Prius. I think you'll have an appreciation for what Toyota's been able to do with the seats. So that about finishes up the 2016 Prius review. This is our first drive, and we'll have a lot more content coming out with regards to the Prius in the coming months as we get more hours behind the wheel of the car. So please stay tuned to our YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, and of course PriusChat.com on the forums for more information about the Toyota Prius as we have it available. The car will be available in dealerships in January. I think it still is very true to the nature of the Prius, and I think that that it's going to be a very good fourth generation platform for the Prius. I think it's going to sell well, and I think that buyers are going to really enjoy it. The styling cues are aggressive and interesting, and while I don't think they convey as well in photographs or possibly even video, in person the styling is so interesting and forward-thinking that I think it will continue to grab the public's attention. And just to sign off with the video, my current MPG in this 54 mile to the gallon rated car, that's 54 city, 52 overall. In my mixed driving that included interstate, going up the canyon road, back down the canyon, and a lot of city driving, I'm at 58 miles to the gallon. So even without any hypermiling techniques, this car is great from an MPG perspective. And it's a great driving car, finally. You can finally say that as a Prius owner, that you have a great driving car. So that is the 2016 Prius. Once again, if you want more information, go to PriusChat.com, and we'll see you there. Thanks.